Hi, friends. As we grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic, mothers are really concerned, how they can help their kids deal with the pandemic, how they can protect them. And there's so many questions in our minds. Joining us to talk about this is Parul Ori. She's the chief editor of Momspresso, which is a platform. It's a content platform, in fact, India's largest content platform, and it has over 30 million users. So, Parul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ambika. Thank you for having me here.
There's so many questions as mothers. We tend to worry, how in this current situation, the way things are, it's so unprecedented, how to deal with the situation. What are the kinds of fears which you see on your platform? What are mothers really expressing, whether it's how do they pass their kids, with the screen time? And especially that was in the first wave, but now it's a little more serious, how to deal with death, grief. So what are those questions which you really see on your platform?
That's a very interesting question because the kind of fears and the conversations have changed quite dramatically and drastically over the last 1 year. So last year, I would say the biggest worry was how to pass time, how to entertain children, how to make the most of my family life, now that everybody is together, how to maintain that work-life balance. For moms, that was the biggest headache with everyone at home. And in this year in 2021, it's drastically different. The serious fears of life and death have come about, with almost every household having been through so much turmoil, loss, and grief. So we have a COVID tracker. In fact, we've been keeping track since last year. And, I can just tell you that around 60% of working moms last year were maintaining a balance, worried about maintaining that balance between chores and office work. Online behavior also reflected their state of mind with, typically the kind of content being consumed was recipes, food videos, entertainment, art and craft ideas for kids and games and all. This year, the top 5 worry areas that we have mapped have been ensuring that my kids don't fall sick, first of all. Then, of course, you've been worried about the state in the country, the rising numbers of COVID cases next door. We have to ensure that the family is eating healthy. That whole nutrition and immunity bit has been overridingly important for moms. That sanitizing bit, keeping everything sanitized, every single thing that comes from outside, that's been a huge worry area. And of course, the brief period that we have where there was terrible shortage of everything, medicines, oxygen, whatever it was, equipment. And, so on the one hand, you're worried about all of those things. On the other hand, you're keeping your house going. So for sure, even if you look at the blogs that we've received, ours is a 95% user-generated content platform. And the kind of blogs we've receiving, a lot of people have talked about their own experiences, very heart-wrenching experiences of loss, of suffering, of themselves going through, for a mother of a 4-year-old to be isolated from a child for 2 weeks is just absolutely no easy task. So we've had a lot of those stories coming in also. And many profound thoughts, a lot of introspection, I would say, about how we used to place so much emphasis on trivial things which just don't seem important any longer. So yeah, a lot of introspection also has happened.
So, you've explained us these 5, the markers. But again, what are the questions which mothers want to know? What are those most common things?
Sure. So I think there were 2 questions which were primary on almost every mom's mind. One is how to keep my child safe. So not only are we talking about things like, your safety when you're going outside, sanitizing, hand washing, etc., but a lot of it was to do with immunity. I think that's always an overriding question. In fact, I think it's a thought in almost every mother's mind. How do I keep my child's immunity up and high so that they don't contract diseases and things like that? But at this time, it took a totally different proportion. So we had a lot of talks. We had a lot of experts coming in and talking about immunity building for children, for the whole family. And what we found is it all boils down to basically, conscious and healthy eating, balanced diet, reducing processed foods, keeping yourself hydrated. And also, besides nutrition and food, almost all experts placed a lot of emphasis on sleep. And of course, a little bit of exercise, whatever you can get indoors. But sleep becomes a pertinent point here because, we know that preteens and teens have lost their circadian rhythms at this time. They're all keeping up and they're studying late, they're chatting late, they're watching, whatever entertainment they're watching, everything is happening late. So sleep has to be brought back into the cycle. And I think that's a struggle we're all going through. Managing screen time is a pain, is a hassle. And at the same
challenge.
time, it's their way of life now. It's for all of us. We're on a screen right now. We would have been in a studio otherwise. So how do you restrict that? It's we've had experts advise us on that aspect as well. And again, it comes down to a huge balancing act. And you have to make sure that the essential screen time, which is their school or classes or any other skill building exercise they're doing, is balanced out with screen time, where they're socializing with their friends or family. And then you have non-screen time, which is with the family on the dining table, sitting in your balcony garden or whatever else. It all comes down to this real fine balancing act. And I think at the end of the day, the onus is on the moms. So we're the ones doing all the balancing.
How are the moms and children taking to online schooling? Because a lot of mothers are working. I mean, you can see on your platform. So working also from home and taking care of the house, plus this whole, with the COVID pandemic, a lot of people are having other stress, like we spoke about grief or losing loved ones. So how about online schooling?
It's really been tough. I think it's been tough from the word go. We in Delhi, at least, we've had a lot of online schooling thanks to breaks because of pollution, because of all kinds of on-street violence, because of the weather. We used to get a lot of that, and a lot of schools started online schooling just to kind of fill in the gaps. So while it was a gap filler, it was all very well. When you have a week of online schooling and you get back to it, that you want to get back to physical school, and this is just a stopgap arrangement, it was fine. It worked really well. But one whole academic year has gone. This is the second academic year. We're almost, somewhere roughly in the middle of it. First term exams are about to start for a lot of children. Yes. It's tough. I mean, I think we're checking all the boxes. We're completing. We've reduced some syllabus. We're doing whatever we can. Parents are doing what they can. Teachers are doing what they can. Children are getting on with it. They're just managing somehow. But I don't know how much learning is happening. It's really, it's just a matter of checking boxes, and it's tough on everybody. I don't blame the teachers at all. They're doing brilliantly. I think schools have responded really well. And like when you said, there was that awful period when almost everybody was in the grasp of some kind of loss and suffering and grief. Schools actually shut down for a bit. They all said, okay, take some time. We don't need to do this. So I think that was brilliant. I think everybody has responded really well from all sides. It's just unfortunate that we're going to have to live with this for a while longer. And I'm glad the boards have also responded. There was this huge fear about exams, the CBSE board exams, ICSE and CBSE both, the board exams. And everybody was scared that, there's a threat of a third wave and you expect our children to go out. Schools also would have needed to manage it in a, with extra manpower, with extra sanitization and all. It's not an easy task. So I'm glad that, the authorities have also responded well and, been able to cancel the exams. I think what we really need to do going forward, and that is something which is a sentiment that's echoed by almost everybody, all mothers, the conversations on our platform also, that, we have a year to go before the next batch is up for exams.
Yes.
Let's get a proper algorithm, a proper formula in place. Let's have a backup plan. You never know how long this is going to carry on. And, we can't be grappling at the last minute exams. Hai, nahi hai. That pressure is worse for the children. They prepare the whole year and then they don't know whether tomorrow there is an exam, cancel hoga, should I keep preparing? It's really not fair. It's a sword dangling on their heads.
पारुल, जैसे हमने बात की कि किस तरह बच्चों पे प्रेशर है, मदर्स जिन कैसे हैंडल कर रहे हैं बच्चों को, लेकिन जो ये प्रेग्नेंट मदर्स है, लैक्टेटिंग मदर्स हैं, इनके मन में भी बहुत सारे सवाल है कि किस तरह अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करे, वैक्सीन ले ना ले, बट ये फियर तो है ये वायरस का, तो उनके बारे में किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, उनकी क्या स्ट्रगल है?
बहुत सवाल आ रहे हैं. इनफैक्ट अगर आप सोचो, अगर हम भी उसी स्टेज में होते तो उतनी टेंशन तो होती ही कि बाहर पैंडेमिक है, इतना इन्फेक्शियस है, हम लोग को बताया गया कि बहुत ही विरुलेंट है और उसके बाद फिर हमें जाना ही पड़ेगा. सो अगेन वी हैड अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स कमिंग इन. उन्होंने समझाया कि कौन सी चीजें हैं जो बिल्कुल एसेंशियल हैं प्रेग्नेंट और लैक्टेटिंग मदर्स के लिए, और किस चीज के लिए आपको बाहर जाना ही जाना है, कौन से अल्ट्रासाउंड्स हैं जो आप अवॉइड कर सकती हैं फॉर प्रेगनेंसी, प्रेगनेंसी रिलेटेड चेक्स एंड टेस्ट एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, कौन से ब्लड टेस्ट हैं जो घर पे ही सैंपल कलेक्शन हो सकते हैं, कि जो हम पहले जैसे अगर 4 स्क्रीनिंग्स होती थी तो अब डॉक्टर्स ने एडवाइस किया ठीक है हम ये अवॉइड कर सकते हैं लेकिन ये जरूरी है. तो हर स्टेज पे, और वो बहुत ही पर्सनल केस है, केस टू केस बेसिस पे, आपको तो पता ही है हर प्रेगनेंसी अलग होती है, तो उसी को संभालने के लिए हम लोग ने बहुत सारे एक्सपर्ट टॉक्स किए, just to handhold mothers through this process. Lactating mothers are also very worried because obviously, you know, the infections have been quite wild, and will I pass it on to my child? So again, there's been a case to case basis, you know, explanations. We've had a lot of experts coming. बहुत ही fearsome time है वैसे तो. कई हॉस्पिटल्स ने इनफैक्ट अपना मदर और चाइल्ड सेक्शन अलग कर दिया, अपने कोविड विंग से मदर और चाइल्ड सेक्शन अलग कर दिया, तो उससे थोड़ी सी इंश्योरेंस मिली है कि कम से कम आपको पूरा एक्सपोजर तो नहीं मिलेगा. लेकिन जहाँ पे बड़े हॉस्पिटल्स हैं, सिविल हॉस्पिटल्स हैं, वहाँ कोई चॉइस नहीं है, जहाँ जाना पड़ रहा है तो अपना आप यू नो अपने प्रोटेक्शन बिल्कुल सही रखिए, अपना हाइजीन, हैंड हाइजीन, डबल मास्किंग, वो सारी चीजें, जहाँ नहीं जाना है आप वहाँ अवॉइड करिए, जहाँ होम विजिट हो सकता है आप वो करिए. तो कुछ सॉल्यूशंस भी मिले और कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो मदर्स को फेस करने ही पड़े. लेकिन ऑफ कोर्स स्ट्रेस हैज बीन वेरी वेरी हाई. एंड कैन यू इमेजिन बेबीज बोर्न लास्ट ईयर haven't seen the outside world so far. You know, their interaction would have been limited to the 4 people in the house or the 3 people in the house. तो अब
just at home
पूरी जनरेशन है जो थोड़ी सी अलग ही उनकी अपब्रिंगिंग होगी. I mean, at least for the first few years. और फिर होपफुली उसके बाद सब नॉर्मल हो ही जाएगा, कम से कम नॉर्मल इन द सेंस ऑफ यू नो बीइंग एबल टू मीट अप विथ योर लव्ड वंस.
Yeah, I think that also separation, you know, not meeting your grandparents, जैसे पहले जाते थे अपने aunt uncle को मिलते थे, friends को मिलते थे, तो वो एक अलग सा pressure है. In fact, हम will be talking to a mental health expert as well, and I think it's very important कि बच्चों पे किस तरह का effect हो रहा है. But फारून, हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, and thank you so much for sharing all these inputs. I think which are so important for all us mothers also to be assured that everybody has the same questions. I think हम सबके मन में वही सवाल है कि किस तरह बच्चों को प्रोटेक्ट करे, क्या चीजें करे, क्या खाना दे, स्क्रीन टाइम कैसे करें. So thank you so much, Parul.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.